批评指教。那两位委员，金委员跟茂委员也提醒我们说，他们来不是来跟我们说好话的，他是来挑战我们。那我知道这是一个我们必须要勇敢的接受挑战，虚心的接受建议。更重要是茂在会场提醒我说，我要 push 大家往前走，不是只有讲一讲就算了。所以我们都已经做了很好的心理准备，各部会都会在未来接到这样的报告，我们确定哪些项次要盘点归类，哪些项次是哪一个部门负责，哪些项次要跟民间团体再来后续对话，那期程要定出来。他们在报告中特别提醒，我们在今年5月通过的国家人权行动计划，关于身心障碍者人权的部分，涵盖面不够广，是否要有一个国家的身心障碍的行动计划，或者叫做国家身心障碍者策略等等这些，我们都会纳入思考，如何把身心障碍者应享有的权利能够往前推进，这才是今天我们在这里开记者会非常重要的意义。然后代表政府再跟5位谢谢大家，谢谢你们，谢谢。
好，我们谢谢林政委。那接下来呢，我们就要请林政委呢代表我国政府要接受结论性的意见。所以接下来呢，我们也会邀请2C 主席 Professor Nagase 要代表全体2C 委员呢递交《身心障碍者权利公约》第2次国家报告的结论性意见。Now I would like to welcome the chairperson of IRC, Professor Nagase, to present the concluding observation of the ROC's second CRPD report to Mr. Wan Yiling, the Minister without portfolio. 我们大家可以掌声。我们谢谢所有2C 委员在过去几天的非常辛劳的审查，也递交了今天的结论性意见。Now please look at the camera in the center first. Okay, and now please remain on your side, and please join us for the photo shoot. 我们请我们2位委员也加入我们的这个，对，我们请2位委员跟我们一起加入，一起合照。Please join us. 往后退2步，是不是 ？Okay, backwards a little bit. Oh yeah, that's right. All right. One more. One more. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. 我们要谢谢呢这个委员们，真的是我们的2C 委员呢，听说昨天从半夜1点开始还在讨论，然后讨论到今天天亮，最后终于提出了今天的这个结论性意见。那我们的2C 主席呢 ，Professor Nagase 说，他希望呢可以由我们远洋，就是在线上加入我们的委员先发表意见。所以呢，我们现在就是会请委员们以及主席们呢，会轮流的来为我们发表这个意见。So first of all, I would like to welcome Dr. Oliver Lewis. Can you hear us from Taiwan? Can you give us a few words to share your thoughts?
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, colleagues. Thank you for inviting me to speak. Just a few comments from me. Firstly, all countries are struggling with the shift that's required in the CRPD from treating people with disabilities as objects of other persons' management, objects of treatment, and sometimes objects of fear. From that towards treating persons with disabilities as subjects of human rights and fundamental freedoms. So that shift requires a mindset as well as a legal and policy shift from exclusion to inclusion, from discrimination to equality. Those are complex societal shifts that need coordinated and concerted efforts at all levels. And one of the key recommendations that we are making is for the government to work with civil society to create a holistic disability strategy to implement the CRPD across all areas of government, and the regions in a coordinated way, bringing together all of the disparate strands that are currently in place and will be in place in the future. There's obviously been huge commitment by the Taiwanese authorities, supported by the National Human Rights Committee, which is truly beginning to be a valuable player in the rights, in the field of disability rights, and of course the rich array of very experienced and committed NGOs that we've heard from. I've been really impressed by this participatory process this week, where there's been a respectful exchange of views, sometimes a robust exchange of views, but that is beneficial and expected in a democratic society. And we hope, or I hope, that our recommendations are helpful. I want to particularly pay thanks to all of the NGOs that spoke with us and sent in written submissions, and pay particular thanks to Covenants Watch for the valuable convening role that it played in civil society. I personally was not only impressed but moved by the many presentations of the NGOs, and in particular the young people who spoke to us, who took the stage very professionally. And I feel confident that the future of the rights of persons with disabilities is safe in their hands. Thank you very much for inviting me to be part of this very important process. It's been an honor, and I look forward to supporting the further implementation of the convention in Taiwan in any way I can. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Oliver Lewis, for your sharing. 我们谢谢 Dr. Oliver Lewis 的分享。那紧接着I would like to welcome Ms. Diane Richler to give us a few words. Welcome, Diane.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be with you virtually today, although I would much rather be with you in person in Taiwan. I want to join Oliver Lewis in expressing thanks to the many, many people who took the time to prepare, to participate with us this week, but also for the incredible amount of work that went into preparing the documents that helped us to develop our concluding observations. I hope that the whole process, both for the government as well as for civil society, provided an opportunity to really reflect on where you've come in terms of promoting and respecting the rights of persons with disabilities, and also how far you have to go. And I really appreciated Minister Lin's graciousness in recognizing the amount of effort that he is willing to put in, and that he's asking both civil society and government representatives together to put in, to truly make the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities real in Taiwan. You know, the whole process of reviewing the CRPD is a rich expression of democracy. It really provides an opportunity for facing ourselves in terms of where we're letting our fellow citizens down and what we can do together to make the world a better place. And for me, the issue of promoting the rights of persons with disabilities has never been just about one group, but really it's about confronting society to be a more welcoming, more respectful, and more supportive place for all citizens. And I hope that some of the discussions that we engaged in over the last week and in the process of gathering all the information in advance really opens up a discussion not only about the rights of persons with disabilities, but about how to keep strengthening the democratic processes in Taiwan. And in reading about the history and recognizing how much you've accomplished as a country in such a short time, in terms of bringing democratic principles to life, I'm very optimistic that your attention to the recommendations in the concluding observations will be meaningful not only for persons with disabilities and their families, but for all of the citizens of Taiwan. And those of you who know me, I met many of you during the last review in Taiwan, know that one of my passions is education. And so grateful for the focus on inclusive education in the reports that we received and in the discussions. For me, the reason that inclusive education is so important is because it provides an opportunity for citizens of the future to learn together, to learn to cooperate together, and to learn to build a future together. And I look very much forward to hearing about the results of this review in terms of the changes that it might bring about, in terms of leading to more discussion, debate, and collaboration between civil society and government. And I thank you for the great privilege of allowing me to be part of this process and to learn with you about how we can make the world a better place by including people with disabilities. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Diane Richler. Thank you. 那我们接下来呢，就把场景切回到现场。I would like to welcome Professor Hyung-Shi Kim. Professor Kim, please give us a few words. Welcome, Professor Kim.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's nice to see you again, especially at the place of press conference. I don't know how many countries have press conferences when their delegation return from Geneva after all the review. Since we heard all the good things from our previous speakers, I'll tell you something more about press conference. When countries receive concluding observations, the reception is a very different one. For example, in Austria, when they received concluding observations, they translated the document overnight and distributed the next morning throughout the nation, which is remarkable. South Korea received 56 concluding observations. The public knew nothing about it, except one very energetic disability media secured concluding observations and then put in their newspaper so that people can read about it. But only that is limited to disability readers, not the general public. So it is a great challenge to make sure that concluding observations are understood and shared by public. The third example, I won't name the country, one of the biggest countries in Latin America. After 1.5 days of constructive dialogue, the leader of the delegation, His Excellency, the Ambassador, almost cried in acknowledging and confessing that they came to Geneva not really understanding what the CRPD is all about. I can tell you there are many member nations come to Geneva for review not really understanding the convention. They've never studied it or never read it, especially diplomatic forces. So this is very serious. In the light of my stories about how different nations handle concluding observations, it is remarkable to see through this press conference. I think this is tremendous. I can tell you many things about my experience during the 3 days, but one of the highlights of the review meeting was that the NGOs, the civil society, and government representatives worked together rather than closing the door so that they can hear from one another, making comments about it. I'm sure this would make government more transparent and also accountable for what they say, because all the NGOs heard about what you're promising, what you said. So through this press conference, I want to make sure the citizens of Taiwan would know about this review and truly work together, put those concluding observations and recommendations into practice, not just leave it to people with disabilities, but society must come together to bring about change. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Kim, for your sharing. And now I'd like to welcome Ms. Janet Ma to give us a few words. Welcome, Ms. Ma.
Thank you very much.
Is the microphone on? Oh. It turned off again?
Yes. Thank you very much for enabling us to have the honour of serving and protecting the rights of people with disabilities in Taiwan. We don't gain anything here by softening or moderating our words. We don't gain anything by softening or moderating our observations. So I hope that our strong words in the concluding observations are received in the spirit with which they were written. They were written in the spirit of constructive dialogue and in the hopes that our well-considered concluding observations are taken up here with the commitment for real change, real coordination between systems, and real reform in order to benefit people with disabilities in realising their rights. And to quote Minister Lin, what's most important is the road ahead. And you can't look back on that road ahead. You must stay moving forward. In implementing these concluding observations, it will not be easy. It will be extremely difficult. It will be challenging and it will cause disruptions in your offices, in your homes, and everywhere where these matters are going to be discussed. At all levels of society, we will hope you will challenge the thinking and reform. So, it's important to experience these pains in order for the gains to be made. In order for the realisation of the human rights of people with disabilities to live decent lives in a home of their choice, being financially comfortable and living contributing lives. Rights are about becoming part of mainstream life, not being excluded, and not being loved, unhappy, abused by systems and in inadequate supports, and living in an unsavoury environment. And I opened when we first met with the words of Nelson Mandela, and I'll repeat a little bit. I can't remember them all, but I'll just repeat a little bit for you. He was a man who overcame the impossible in a place where no one thought it would be possible to reform. And I think that's a situation you might feel you're in right now. And in his book, The Long Road to Freedom, towards the conclusion, he says, when we climb one great hill, we stand here looking around at the glorious vista that surrounds us. We've got these wonderful concluding observations. And he stops and he says, I must not stay here, because as I look, I see there are many more hills to climb. And Taiwan, you're on that great hill and you're looking at the glorious vista that surrounds you, and you can see there are many more hills to climb. Good luck in climbing them, and good passion to make sure these things happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ma, for your sharing. 那接下来呢，我们就要邀请到 IRC 的主席 Professor Osamu Nagase 来为我们分享。Now, I would like to welcome Professor Nagase to give us a few words.
大家好。
好。
First, I express my great happiness to be this great team of International Review Committee. Because of the COVID, Oliver Lewis had to join from London, and just like any other members of the committee, he's a world-famous disability rights advocate and researcher. And also Diane Litcher from Toronto. Our time difference is 12 hours, so you can imagine how difficult it is. Yeah, I've been fortunate to work with Diane Litcher, another global leader on disability rights, particularly in inclusive education. And I've been very fortunate to be with two other members of the committee in Taiwan, Professor Kim Hyun-sik, another global leader on disability rights, who served on the CRPD committee as a member of the Bureau. And of course, Janet Marr, outstanding disability rights leader from Australia with a medal. I feel so fortunate to be part of this outstanding group of global experts, except for me. I feel so fortunate to have this opportunity to work with and learn from my outstanding colleagues. In Japan, where I come from, as you know, ministers keep changing. So it was quite a delight to meet Minister Lin again after 5 years. And because the review takes place in Taipei, I feel so fortunate to meet so many government officials, leaders of the civil society, leaders of disability rights movement. And when I look back the 5 years, you have made a progress, including the establishment of the National Human Rights Commission, establishment of the National Human Rights Action Plan, as well as the new Department of Human Rights and Transitional Justice. I really congratulate you on those progress, particularly in the framework for the promotion of human rights in general, as well as disability rights, which is a part of the universal rights. But then again, when I look back the 5 years old last concluding observations, there are still so many challenges and gaps, which is, should I say, unfortunate, even though there has been a lot of progress, but there are a number of areas I cannot see progress. That's why we have to, this time, again, we have to work hard again, and I have no idea how much access you have been able to have our concluding observations at this time, but I really expect you to take a good look at our second concluding observations from the second review. Just briefly, there's one new element in our concluding observations. That is Chapter 3, General Issues. We have highlighted overarching general issues, 6 of them. That includes human rights approach, equality and non-discrimination, participation, living in the community, mental health, and disability strategy. We have identified these as overarching and general issues that go and covers a number of different articles. So when you take a look at our concluding observations, please take a look at this part carefully as well. As Janet was saying, we see many more hills to climb, but in a way, the members of the committee, we are not the ones who climb the hills. You are the one who climbs the hills. Members of the International Review Committee, we come and we go. But you are the one who promote and protect the human rights here. We have done our best to provide you the analysis of the implementation of the CRPD here. We really have done our best. But after all, it's your human rights implementation here. So I really thank you, and I really wish you good luck in your promotion of the further human rights protection, particularly the CRPD implementation. You are the one who are going to make change. And because of that, you have my highest respect. Thank you so much for this opportunity. 谢谢大家。
谢谢，ありがとう。Thank you, Professor Nagase。我们再次的掌声，谢谢我们所有非常辛苦的我们的 LRC 的委员们，好吗？谢谢。I believe the government and NGO will develop the follow-up measures based on the concluding observations you provided today to strengthen the protection of the rights of people with disabilities in Taiwan. 那我们接下来的时间呢，我们就要开放给在场的媒体朋友。I would like to open the floor to the medias here with us. 所以如果有需要提问的话呢，帮我们举手，然后我们会递上麦克风，因为需要这个我们口译老师的翻译。所以如果有媒体需要提问的话，帮我们这个举手好吗？我们会请工作人员递麦克风。 有没有需要发问的媒体朋友 ？Any questions from the press, the media？ 有吗？好，那我们就再一次的掌声，我们再次谢谢我们国际审查委员在过去6天的辛劳，谢谢。那我们今天呢，我们结论性意见的发布记者会到这边圆满完成。Thank you all for joining us today. Have a great day. Thank you. 我们谢谢大家今天的莅临，祝大家有个愉快的一天，谢谢。Thank you.
Sorry about that.